back. Time for the Hot Topic Buzz. President Biden has not given an interview in over 100 days, but had some words about the American press.
Prime Minister Modi to free himself off of Russian oil. Are you going to help him get some weapons so they can't get some weapons? Welcome to the American press. Are you disappointed?
Welcome to the American press, Dagan.
Well, they're yelling at you because you won't sit down with an interview for an interview. That's why they're hollering at you, and to make sure you can hear them, potentially. Not that I know that he hadn't done a mainstream media interview in 100 days, but are the American people really clamoring for that at this point?
Good point. But he needs to answer some questions. I'd like to know why he has a wide open border. That would be my question. How is it possible that you have not mouthed the words fentanyl in a year and a half in office? I'd like to know why.
Or he hadn't even met with the Texas governor. He hadn't heard from him. So, right? He hasn't, that's no phone call.
So he is not really capable of doing these one-on-ones. I mean, he's in cognitive decline. So the White House communication shop does not want to put him out there in those kinds of contexts. But even if they do, Maria, you'd ask him those hard questions. But the mainstream media, the White House press corps, just they've actually admitted that they don't. They're bored in the White House press corps. No stories to cover.
I'd also like to know what he knew about Hillary's plan to tie Trump to Russia. He was in the room when Obama was there in his Oval Office meetings in the last few weeks of his administration. Remember what President Obama did? He told all the intelligence agencies to share all information as he was walking out the door. Remember that?
Well, there's also indications that it was Joe Biden who was the one pushing the Logan Act, this unconstitutional, never enforced law to go after Michael Flynn. So he does have a lot to answer for. As far as his handlers, the White House team, I think they're making a good decision. I would prefer if the president avoided public speaking. Now, I understand this is not a long-term solution. Americans, I think, have made it pretty clear in polls they don't want him to run again. Many think he doesn't have the competence necessary to do this job. But here we are with a president, and there's a war going on in Ukraine. I would ideally like him not to blunder his way into a war with a nuclear-armed power. So I think it's best for him to stick to prepared statements.
Can I just make one final point here, Maria? When he was complaining abroad about the American press, he could not have survived 5 minutes of what Donald Trump dealt with on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's true.